Annyeonghaseyo, all my beautiful people. How are you doing today? Okay, so guys, today we are going to talk about a case from Pakistan. It is all over the news media over there, and it has not yet hit our media. Allegedly, a courier delivery boy had an affair with a married woman. And on that allegation alone, he was burned alive. Now, while most and many Pakistanis are very well educated, it is a sad reality that honor killing still exists in the rural areas. So before we begin, I want to say that yes, Pakistan does have a social scene. People go out, teens hang out, there are mixed gatherings, there is co-education. However, a vast, vast majority live a completely different culture. It's a tribal one, and it is very hard on them. So before 2004, there weren't laws against honor killings, either because it was a cultural thing. Women and men were murdered if they somehow dishonored their family. Police didn't interfere because it can be hard to control some of the rural areas. Now, this is capital punishment in Pakistan, known as Law 302. Between January 2015 and August 2019, 2,454 people were sentenced to death. From August 2019 to August 22, the number dropped to 657. They are typically executed by hanging, and Amnesty International is fighting against it actively. But given the population of Pakistan, these numbers are low, and it's obvious that people there are working for a change. As for the matter of illegal honor killing, a few famous cases that even caught the eyes of Amnesty International are the famous 2012 Kohistan case, where 5 girls were singing and clapping their hands with 2 teenage boys, and they were all killed for taking part in a dishonorable act. Similarly, a famous social media star, Qendel Bolak, was murdered by her brother in 2016 for literally doing what our OnlyFans models do. Making videos, talking to people, and her brother was freed after just 3 years in jail. Honor killing is actually noted in FIRS's first information report as cause of death or motivation for murder. It's like an acceptable thing, normal things that happen. An FIR is a written document prepared by the police when they receive information about the commission of a cognizable offense. It is a report of information that reaches the police first in point of time, and that is why it's called the FIRST information report, first information report. So our story begins on the 24th of August, 2023. So very recently, you guys. Around 7:30 a.m., Inspector Sahal responded to a 1-5 call. A small rural town called Sham Ki Batian in Mangamandi reported a rotten, decayed body in their vicinity. When emergency services responded, they were able to retrieve the body. It was so severely burned that only 5% of the mass could actually be identified. The victim appeared to be male, maybe in his 20s. Post-mortem indicated that blunt force trauma of such severe extent that all of the bones in his body were completely shattered. His teeth had been broken, his skull was fractured, his arms and legs all broken, his back had been stabbed over 12 times. His arms and legs were tied up. Officer Salale gathered evidence and the body was placed inside a morgue. Now, there isn't exactly an international database that you can immediately correct or connect to, but they sent everything to the police WhatsApp groups. They do have WhatsApp over there, and shared hard copies with various police stations and soft copies with officers. They got a match when officers from Basal Town Police Station said they had filed a missing persons report and it might just be the guy they were looking for. Same age, group, and time. Police contacted the family of the missing person and his brother came down to identify the body at the morgue. He confirmed the victim was his brother, Reyes. The missing persons report was filed at 11 p.m. August 23rd, so the night before. Apparently, the 23-year-old had gone to deliver a parcel and he hadn't returned. In Pakistan, you don't typically need 24 hours to file a missing person report. So let's talk about this man. The man was employed at M&P Courier Company. His name was Reyes. Officers detected his call records and tried to speak to all the recent dialed numbers. Many of the numbers were mostly his friends, but one suspect sort of stood out. He seemed defensive and denied knowing the victim at first, then said he had gotten a delivery from him. Officers had already checked with the courier company, and there and then had been no delivery that evening. Police could tell this man was hiding something, so he was brought to the police station for further investigation, where he confessed to have killed Reyes. And you guys will just never guess why he killed Reyes. Now, this man, Farhan, made multiple statements and he changed stories a few times. We are going to start from the very beginning. Version number 1. Reyes' elder brother and the investigating officer, Sohail, went to Farhan's house, where Farhan's brother opened the door. The officer informed him that Reyes was a delivery boy whose phone pinged in their area and his last call was to the woman named Amna. The brother first completely denied knowing Reyes, but he admitted that Amna was his sister-in-law. Anyway, Farhan and Amna were taken into custody as suspects for the murder of Reyes. Let me tell you a little bit about this couple. Farhan and Amna lived in a large house in a pretty posh area in the city of Lahore called Faisal Town. They lived with Farhan's parents, brother, and sister-in-law. However, Farhan and Amna had the upper portion of the house. They were built like apartments, so it was a different access, like a different house. They got married when Amna was 20 years old, and she had only passed high school. It was a typical arranged marriage, like the custom is in Pakistan, but she was happy. They had 3 children, 2 girls, and a baby boy. Farhan was well off. He had a small car business, and he was a medical representative. Farhan let her have anything she wanted. Only well-to-do people in Pakistan can afford hair colors like this because they are mostly imported in brands and are a bit pricey. Amna ordered a lot of things online, like clothes and accessories. Reyes covered his particular area of the city as the only writer for the M&P courier services. A lot of parcels went through that company, and so Reyes went to this area a lot. According to Amna, Reyes has been harassing her for about 6 months or more. And she was terrified of him because he was blackmailing her. What was he blackmailing her with? The picture right here, where she is laughing on a video call with him, she was afraid her husband would find out and do something crazy. Now, if you're wondering why she was so scared to tell him, well, according to the police, a few months ago, Reyes had beaten her so badly he literally fractured her nose. So it was established that he had an explosive temper and he was severely abusive to Amna. She did try to sort things out and get him to change her SIM. She wanted to change her number and she asked her husband a few times, but he replied with, "What do you need your SIM changed for? You don't work or anything." Anyway, Amna was the first one to crack under the pressure of the interrogation. She admitted she knew Reyes, but that he was trying to rape her. He threatened her. He said he knew where her daughter went to school, tutoring in the evening. He scared her that she didn't let him in the house, he would do terrible things to her and her children. He was a courier delivery guy. He had a lot of names and addresses, so that's a bit scary. On 8th of August, he messaged and called her to open the door and let him in. She told him everyone was home and he would get her in trouble. He said he knew Farhan wasn't home. When she snuck downstairs and opened the door, she saw that Reyes had a knife in his hand. Amna got really scared. She let him into her portion of the house upstairs. She says Reyes saw a small box of gold jewelry and a TV on the table, and her husband had left some rupees, 500,000 in cash. That's about $1,800 American. He grabbed the money and the box and made her take him into a bedroom. Once there, he proceeded to molest her. Amna said she went on for some time until her daughter, surprisingly, came home early. The little girl ran downstairs to get her grandfather. Reyes freaked out and locked the door to the room. Once the father-in-law started banging on the door, he grabbed the things and jumped off the balcony on the first floor apartment. That's when she opened the door and her father-in-law was furious. Started thinking that she let the man in the house. He video called her husband to show him. Her husband came home and got angry. He told her to leave immediately. Unknown to Amna, her husband found a cell phone in the balcony of her house. The cell phone was one of the 2 phones that Reyes carried around. Farhan saw his messages blackmailing her, and he asked her what was the guy blackmailing her about. Here it was where this gets really interesting. Amna says Reyes used to call her from different numbers, and once she was on a video call with her mom, he called her, so she randomly picked up the call. When she said hello, he said, "Ma'am, I'm in love with you and I want to marry you." Then that made Amna burst out laughing, and she answered expletive, "I have 3 kids," meaning she was well settled. He took a screenshot and then said, "That's just the tip of the iceberg. I know a lot more about you." Amna says the guy knew way too much about her family. He even knew intimate things like her husband smokes. Amna herself didn't know these things about Farhan, but the guy was stalking her and her family. He knew everything, and he had names and numbers of all her family members. The night of the 23rd of August, Amna says she was sleeping in her brother-in-law's room because the air conditioner in the room wasn't working. Her husband woke her in the middle of the night and told her they were going out. He made her sit in the car's front seat and drove off into the rural areas. There, she found out he had taken her with him to dispose of the body. She denied knowing anything about the murder and said that she was shocked at what Farhan did. Version number 2. In Farhan's version of the story, he says the guy was a robber, and he even had a video of Reyes tied up confessing to the robbery. Of course, he was cross-examined, and officers told him they had read his wife's text messages, etc. He then said the man was trying to rape his wife, and so he took matters into his own hands. When he picked up the cell phone from the balcony, he saw several videos of little underage girls, 6 or 7 years of age. 2 dark men were sexually abusing those girls, and so on. And on the night of the 23rd, tongue-tied, when Reyes started calling and texting, he let him in the house and beat him with sticks. He claims he didn't do anything, that Reyes was intoxicated and died because of a drug overdose. 2 men were accompanying Reyes, and those 2 men took him, probably burnt his body because they wanted to hide their botched burglary attempt. Version number 3. Now, officers have questioned the 2 friends that accompanied Reyes. They unraveled something completely different. According to them, Reyes and Amna were having an affair. Amna would call him up and let him in the house when Farhan was out and with his friends and the kids were away for tutoring. They said Reyes dropped his phone and an Apple Watch in Amna's house, and even though he wanted nothing to do with her, she lured him in, saying he could have his things back if he met her one last time. The night of the 23rd, the 2 friends dropped him in, and they verified that Amna actually opened the door. They also saw 2 men on the balcony, Farhan and his brother. This sort of felt fishy to them because Amna never let him in the house if anyone was home. When they tried to call him, the phone was off. And after hanging out for about an hour or so, they went home. Now, throughout these stories, some facts are unchangeable. Farhan did indeed kill Reyes. He beat the guy with sticks, along with his brother, according to forensic analysis, burnt him alive. Amna was home when this all happened. Farhan owned an illegal pistol, which he used to hold Reyes at gunpoint so he wouldn't do anything. She did indeed have an affair with Reyes because of the text messages that were recovered, months and months of chats and calls. Tragically, Reyes was about to get married in 2 months. So throughout my video, I've been trying to be respectful, not to offend anyone's culture or anything, and I'm hoping people will see that. That being said, this honor killing business is messed up because you don't give the other person a chance. Farhan is in custody and Amna is out on bail, giving interviews, trying to prove that she was completely innocent, no affair, nothing. A man was burned alive, and all this woman can think about is trying to prove her innocence. She is more worried about how society will treat her if she had an extramarital affair rather than worry about the fact that a man was murdered. People online are, of course, on Reyes's side, but there are always occasional he got what he deserved, which is just primitive and brutal. Some people are even suggesting Farhan should have killed his wife, which is equally bad. Whatever the case, looks like this guy is going to walk free. What do you guys think about this honor killing? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really interested. And I look forward to talking to you guys in the next video. 감사합니다.